It's a real blessing to be back here at the beautiful Oasis of Hope in Mexico. And without any further ado, I'm going to introduce Dr. Francisco Contreras, who is the director here. Wonderful to see you, Francisco.
Well, it's my honor and pleasure to be with you, Felicity.
Dr. Contreras is a very busy man, so we're going to go straight into some questions. Francisco, I would just like to ask you, what are the advanced protocols that you're using now since I was healed in 2003?
Well, you know, this is a very dynamic hospital where we are always looking to improve on our statistics. We have been able to help a lot more people percentage-wise than most of the big cancer centers in the world, but we're still, you know, always wanting to improve in trying to help more people. So we're constantly finding and looking for ways of improving our protocols. And in the last 5-6 years, we have tremendously improved our protocol to make our therapy more effective.
I believe you're using hyperthermia.
Hyperthermia has proven to be quite effective for many, many years, but it's difficult to achieve the temperatures. And so after studying many elements on how to do this, we finally were able to do a protocol where safely we can reach the temperatures that are needed for it to be effective. There are many places in the world that give hyperthermia, but they don't reach the temperatures that are necessary for it to be effective. So we have that available. Also, we have been able to improve the way we can use some of the conventional therapies, for instance, chemotherapy. IPT has been around for a very long time, insulin potentiated chemotherapy, but we have ways, again, to do it in a more effective way. So we use micro and low dose chemotherapy in conjunction with many of the elements that we have for patients that have extremely aggressive tumors or tumors that are so large that are threatening the life of a patient, where we cannot wait for the slow process of the natural therapies to work, and we need to accelerate tumor reduction. We also have now available a much better immune stimulating protocol with the dendritic cell vaccine, which can be activated with tumor circulating cells or with tissue from the actual tumor of the patient, so that it can be a lot more specific.
That's really interesting. I believe you're using 4D adaptive radiation.
Well, we do not have radiation on site, but we have access to the newest machinery in the United States. As you know, we're just a few miles away from San Diego, where they have this new type of radiation that actually focuses more on the tumor and gives very little radiation to the surrounding tissue. There's also a proton beam radiation center in San Diego, and so sometimes we will refer our patients to those areas.
Teamwork is very important, isn't it, between the patient, the doctor, and the nurses?
Yes, and we have been blessed to work with a number of very conventional oncologists in the area and in San Diego that have seen our incredible results, and so we work together as a team.
I think your results are 56% better. Are they on the 5-year statistics for stage 4?
It will depend on the type of tumor, but overall our statistics are 3 to 5 times better than the published reports around the world.
It's about neuroimmunology, isn't it?
Well, to me, is one of the pillars of the reason for our success. I am completely convinced that all healing comes from God, and that everything that happens because He wills it. So we definitely put ourselves in the hands of the Lord and our patients in the hands of the Lord. And we are going to do our part. We are going to be responsible. We are going to help our patients. But at the end of the day, it is God's will that will prevail.
That's right.
And so one of the main reasons for our statistics being so good is because there's so many miracles happen here due to prayer.
Absolutely. I think you educate the patients as well, don't you?
It is a major part. An informed a patient will make much better decision for himself and work much better as a team with us. It is of very little value when you give a patient something and the patient will not believe in it, will not cooperate. So we want to inform our patients, we want to educate them on every aspect of the therapy so that they say, yes, I want to do this because I believe in it. Then the results are much better.
You know, we have so many viewers in Revelation TV, which reaches so many countries, who are struggling with ill health because of our lifestyle now, the wrong fats, the wrong sugars, the wrong salts. So it's wonderful for people to be able to come here in a Christian environment and also learn the real cutting-edge truth about how we're overcoming disease now. Mm-hmm. Because I'm sure cancer is much more prevalent now. We all know it's 1 in 2, isn't it?
There's no question that it's an epidemic at this point. There's more cases being diagnosed every year, especially in developed countries. And there's more people dying of cancer every year. And most of it is for lack of knowledge. Yes. My people perish for lack of knowledge.
Hosea.
And I think that if we can educate people that already have cancer on how to deal better with cancer and how to fight it better, we can educate people on how to prevent it, how to lower the risk of developing cancer. And unfortunately, governments are not spending money on that issue. And we believe this is very important. And that's why I travel so much, mainly to educate on the possibilities of reducing the risk.
And how can our viewers prevent cancer?
3 factors that will significantly lower the risk of you developing cancer. Obviously, the first one is what you put in your system, what you eat. And we are consuming more and more foods that are processed. So tip number 1, if you consume the food the way God put it on this earth, you are going to lower your risk by at least 50%. Second, exercising. We are doing less and less exercise with this, all of this technology that is before us. And so we do less and less, we move less and less as time passes. So doing exercise will also significantly reduce, probably even more than diet. There are studies that show that if you do 4 hours of strenuous exercise a week, you will reduce the chances of developing cancer up to 60%. And so that's another a very important part. The third factor is our emotional well-being. We are a society that is so stressed and so focused on material things that we are not allowing our immune system to recuperate. So my suggestion and what we teach our patients here is to reinforce their spiritual connection to God. Because lastly, the most important thing is where we're going to spend eternity, not how long we live here and how well we live here. What's important to us is where is it that we're going to spend eternity. And stress comes from lack of resources, doesn't it? If we feel that we don't have the resources to resolve a financial issue, a family issue, a health issue, then we're stressed. And what I tell our patients here is that once you have Jesus in your heart, you have all of the resources necessary to resolve any problem. So if you have resolved the issue of eternity, if you eat well and exercise, the chances of you developing cancer are going to be minimal.
And your book, 50 Critical Cancer Answers, really is an education, isn't it, to people? You've got all the points there.
We designed that book based on questions that patients asked us. And so we found the 50 questions most asked and decided to very profoundly answer those questions. And not only just answer the question, but we also give advice on each of the questions on how to act upon those answers so that they have a practical application for the life of the reader. So we've received a lot of praise from that book. It's a very practical, easy to read book that will guide you not only if you have cancer on how to make better decisions as far as your options, but also will guide healthy people on how to reduce the risk of developing cancer.
I know you're a great humanitarian too.
Yes, we've been able to, well, help people from all around the world, but of course here in our community, we have been able to do many acts of charity that benefit our people.
And the aftercare really impresses me, that Mario, I think it is, who follows up with phone calls to support patients when they get home.
Yes, it is one of the most important aspects of our therapy, because patients live in tremendous fear. And when they get to an environment like this, which is very different from any hospital that they've ever been to, they spend about 3 weeks with us, and when they're ready to go home, they become very stressed. And now they're going to their houses, and they feel very, very distressed that they're not going to be able to follow the things that were very easy for them to follow here, like the diet, or they have a doctor, they have friends, they have people to communicate with. And so we win them off so that they can go home in a better way, and knowing that they have a constant contact with us. They're only a phone call away with people that are very knowledgeable, that can answer all of their questions and can help them continue in the right path of all of the changes that they have to do, because the lifestyle change is very dramatic, as you experienced it. And so support is very important, so that we can hold their hands, so to say, even if they're very, very far away, as you were, from England to Mexico. So to us, that is very, very important. And I think it's a key factor in the reason for our success.
I know you work with the alkaline acid balance.
Although you cannot truly alkalinize a body because our pH is very, very stable, consuming alkaline foods is at a benefit to us. If you think in terms of a bank, whenever you consume alkaline foods, it's like putting money into your metabolic bank. Whenever you consume acidic foods, and all processed foods are acidic, and they make them acidic because bugs don't like acids, and so it gives shelf life to a product. But when you consume acidic foods, it's taking money out of the bank. It's at a disadvantage to you. So we teach all of these things to our patients, so that they understand that consuming alkaline foods and most foods that God puts forth for us are alkaline. And that's the reason, because they're at a benefit to us. Oxygenation is also very important. We live in a very contaminated world. And because we do not move sufficiently, we don't exercise sufficiently, we do not, mobilize oxygen, and we don't oxygenate our system as we should. So we teach our patients to either exercise or breathing exercises, because there's many patients that they're so ill they can't exercise. So breathing exercises are very, very important. And while on therapy, we use means of increasing oxygen for our therapies to work better. So ozone therapy is very important. Again, as I mentioned already, the hyperthermia will, increase the capacity of our body to use oxygen. And we have some supplements and medications that will also do that. And so that will help our patients respond better to therapy.
Are you still advocating the pancreatic enzymes?
Yes. And for me, the best product out there is by a German company called Corbin-Wheeler is the name of the laboratory in Germany, and their product is Wobenzyme. Wobenzyme is an excellent combination of digestive enzymes and proteolytic enzymes that will actually synergize and activate amygdalin, lateral, or B17.
So it's vital to have the pancreatic enzymes.
It is very, very important.
Yes, I remember.
There are many products out there that are good, but in my experience, Wobenzyme are the best.
And you really should stay on that for life.
Yes, I've been taking Wobenzyme, 15 or more years.
Right, so that it keeps you well.
Yes.
Really interesting for the patients, because I think sometimes they forget about the pancreatic enzymes.
Yes.
So vital.
We have created for our patients a very comprehensive home therapy with a number of foods, food supplements, and nutraceuticals that will make the tumor's life very uneasy. And it's a major part of our therapy, and the results virtually depend on the compliance of the patient to follow that home therapy.
So you give people the tools how to heal themselves,
yes.
And then it's up to them if they maintain that therapy really
exactly.
for life.
Yes, and another one of our improvements is that first, my daughter, who's our nutritionist, has improved on the diet tremendously, and now she has a chef that is improving all of those recipes. So the patients are enjoying a very high quality food at the Oasis of Hope.
And the chef demonstrates how to prepare these dishes.
Yes, so we're going to have classes for people to prepare the food, and instructions on how to find the elements that are organically grown and not contaminated. Again, everything is so dynamic. Now we know that low glycemic index is much better for a cancer patient than high glycemic.
Yeah.
And so that's why it's much better to have green juice than juices of fruits that are perfectly good for somebody that does not have cancer, like apples and carrots, because those have a very high glycemic index.
Right.
So even though they're very good for you, the tumor can take advantage of the high sugar content. It's good sugar, but the tumor doesn't care if it's bad sugar or not. They love it. So a low glycemic index juice is much better for a patient with cancer than a high glycemic juice.
And you think it's important to drink a rainbow as well?
Yes. Yeah. God gave different formulas of different nutrients per color of the food. And so for us to prevent cancer, I would recommend always that you have at least 5 colors of vegetables and fruits in your plate.
We know sodium chloride is a real poison in the body. What about Himalayan salt? Do you allow a little bit of salt?
We allow very little salt to our patients, and one of them is the famous pink salt, which has a low sodium content.
That's the Himalayan salt, is it? The rock salt?
Yes.
Yes.
But there's one that I think it's Chinese, where it's called pink, which even has some advantages to rock salt. So some salt is given to our patients, but mostly we will condiment our food with spices so that the patients do not miss the salt. Because it is so difficult, to adapt your taste buds to no salt. It takes a while.
But 12 years on, I'm
Yeah.
loving that food now, you see.
But the patients, after 3 weeks, of learning how to use their spices, are virtually converted into a very, very low sodium diet.
Do you allow ginger?
Yes. So some of the spices, like ginger, are the things that are going to give that stimulation to our taste buds.
And garlic?
Yes, a lot of garlic.
Very important. I find
Very,
garlic
very important.
wonderful.
Garlic has a tremendous healing potential. It has a very potent antibacterial, antiviral, antifungal effect, but it also has some anti-tumor effects as well.
What do you think about hydrogen peroxide?
Well, hydrogen peroxide is actually the killing agent of many chemotherapies. Is the actual killing agent of high-dose vitamin C. But it's very difficult to get the hydrogen peroxide to the tumor, because if we drink it or if we inject it, we have an enzyme called catalase that neutralizes it on site. So hydrogen peroxide therapies have failed because of that. We didn't know that 25, 30 years ago. So we have developed therapies that will produce the hydrogen peroxide within the tumor. And most tumors lack this enzyme that I mentioned, catalase. And so when the tumors are low in catalase, oxidative therapies are very effective, like vitamin C.
That's really interesting. Do you think cancer is a fungus in the body?
No. And there are some theories that say that fungal infections are the root of malignancies. If that were so, the demographics of cancer would be completely upside down. That is, we would have a lot more cancer in underdeveloped countries than developed countries, because we live, in a very contaminated bacterial, fungal environments. Are poor people, and poor people all over the world have a much lower incidence of cancer than rich people. So I really believe that infections play a very minor role in the development of cancer. There's no question that they play a role, especially viral infections. There are a few cancers that are caused by viruses, okay, that we know for sure. But in most cases, infectious diseases play a very minor role in the development of cancer.
What about radiation?
Radiation will promote mutations, and mutations promote cancer. So there's no question that being exposed to radiation increases your risk of developing cancer, 100-fold.
So even working with our computers and using our mobile phones, are we damaging ourselves?
It's very possible that through all of these technological advances, we are hurting ourselves. There's no question about that. But as I mentioned at the beginning, it's actually quite easy to counteract that. It's impossible for us to live now without a computer, especially in the medical field. It helps so much. So we can counteract that with supplements. For instance, melatonin is a wonderful source of neutralizing radiation activity in your body. So good diet, supplementation, exercise will definitely counteract the negative effects of technology, which is there, but it's minor.
I think it's wonderful that you offer a consultation free to people who are thinking that they really need to come here, because that's a tremendous help. People know that you can actually help them if they've sent their medical records here, and you can have a look at it and see what you think, if you can help people.
Yeah, it is very important for us to help people as much as possible, because there's a lot of resistance, especially from family members, to say, well, I'm going to leave the conventional medicine and I'm going to look for alternatives. There's a lot of stress involved that. For the patient, it's much easier because the patient has been told there's nothing that we can do, go home and die. And so the patient looks for options, but the family is like, oh my God, you're trying to do crazy things. And so we provide information not only to the patient about the possibilities, but also to the family members and friends and spouses so that they can make a decision.
But God is the ultimate healer, isn't he? So it's wonderful to be in a Christian environment here. And it's lovely for patients to be able to talk to Sue Carruthers, who's, I think she answers the phone, doesn't she, when people ring?
Yes, she's wonderful. We have a number of people that answer the phone, and they're very well trained about the things that happen here, what we can offer the patients, what we cannot, so that a patient is very, very well informed, and that way they can make a decision on whether this is a place for them or not.
And it's so easy for people to come from Europe now because you can fly direct from London to San Diego.
It is very, very easy now to travel in this modern world, and there are many direct flights to San Diego. And a lot of people are a little bit leery of Mexico because of what they hear on the news, but it's very similar to what you hear all the time about Israel. And then you go into Tel Aviv, and then Jerusalem is just wonderful. So the violence that is published on the news about Mexico, it happens, and it's between those drug lords. But in general, Mexicans are living very, very well and safely. And Tijuana is a very nice area. Our weather is incredible. And so people, actually, when they get here, they see that they can be very safe.
And sunshine is very important too, isn't it?
Yes, and we give our patients at least 5,000 to 10,000 units every day. Here we have about 120 sunny days per year. So, and it's not hot and it's not cold.
And how much vitamin C would you advocate for the patients?
When we use vitamin C as a immune stimulating agent, we recommend between 5 and 10 grams a day. When we use vitamin C as an anti-tumor agent, we are going to be giving between 30 and 60 grams of vitamin C, IV.
Yes.
So it makes a big difference on the amount and how and why you want to use vitamin C. So the normal vitamin C that you intake orally is for immune stimulation, for detoxification. It's a very potent antioxidating agent. It's a wonderful supplement. But when you want to use it as an anti-tumor agent, it's a completely different thing. And just providing a patient with high dosages of vitamin C really doesn't do a thing. You have to do a whole preparation before you give the vitamin C, and then an after therapy for vitamin C actually to work as chemotherapy. And so that's our vitamin C anti-tumor therapy.
Right, so what is the preparation for that? It's really interesting.
Well, as I mentioned to you, vitamin C in very high dosages will convert itself into hydrogen peroxide. And it has to be in the presence of oxygen. So you have to create a whole environment. So the preconditioning of the patient is to actually have a tumor that is very rich in oxygen when they normally are not. Tumors are hypoxic. So it is a whole process to do that. Then the high dosage vitamin C will provide the environment within the tumor to convert itself into hydrogen peroxide. So you have to convert a very potent antioxidant, which is vitamin C, into an oxidant. And it doesn't happen on its own. So that's this whole preconditioning that we have to do.
And what about vitamin E? Do you believe in that?
Yes, but that's on our home therapy. We have two phases of therapy. The hospital phase is called the oxidative therapy. And then the therapy that we go home is antioxidating therapy. So it's like giving a tumor a punch in the liver and then the second punch in the jaw to really knock it down. And so toggling between oxidant and antioxidant therapy is what keeps the tumor honest, really, and will not allow it to become resistant to our therapy. Because as you know, that's one of the major problems with treating cancer, that the tumors become resistant to chemo, resistant to many of the hormone therapies that you can give them. And so when we changed these therapies, we do not allow the tumors to be resistant. And that's why our long-term results are so much better.
That's the great thing, isn't it? You know, to change people from being victims into victors of cancer. It's great that patients can bring a companion with them as well.
You are so right. One of the main things that we try to do with our patients as soon as they arrive is that we want to convert them into victors rather than victims. Yeah. And a patient believes that being a victor of cancer is getting rid of it. This is not necessarily true. In fact, there are people that are completely healed and are still victims of cancer because they're just wondering when is it going to come back. So they're still victims, even though they have no tumor activity. And on the other hand, you may have a patient that said, well, cancer is the best thing that ever happened to me because I was not, appreciating everything that is around me. Mm. And now that my life is threatened, I can enjoy, the sunset for the first time in my life. It's important to me. So becoming a victor of cancer is a decision, not a change in status. And once in your mind and in your heart you've beaten cancer, then cancer has no stronghold over your life.
Wonderful.
And miracles can happen.
And miracles do happen, especially here at the beautiful Oasis of Hope. So thank you, Francisco, so much for spending time with us today, for the Revelation viewers. And we just want to heal the world, don't we, really, and prevent cancer in the first place. So I want to thank you so much, and also just give your website so that the viewers know where to contact you.
Yes, well, thank you very much. And the way to contact us is www.oasisofhope.com. www.oasisofhope.com.
Francisco, it's been absolutely wonderful to be with you.
My pleasure.
Beautiful Oasis of Hope.
Thank you.